Right, Genghis Khan Part 2, the rivalry of the Blood Brothers. Episode 1 was really good. It's on my channel if you want to check that out before this one. Right, Genghis Khan Part 2, let's go.
It's a quiet morning just before dawn. In Temujin's camp, the family sleeps peacefully, thinking their troubles are behind them. They are very wrong. Even now, 300 Merkit soldiers thunder towards them on horseback, eager for a fight.
How does he get out of this then?
News traveled fast on the ancient steppe, and the story of Temujin's daring escape and new alliance with Unk Khan spread far and wide. His growing success got the attention of the Merkits, the tribe Temujin's father had kidnapped his mother from. They saw an opportunity to knock Temujin down a peg before he got too powerful. At Temujin's camp, an old woman was sleeping with her head on the ground, and suddenly she was awoken by the sound of approaching hooves. She alerted the camp. With little time to prepare for the attack, Temujin, his allies, his mother, and 5-year-old child all mounted horses and took flight. But Borte was left behind. Nobody is sure if she volunteered to stay behind, as her grandmother had, or if Temujin lost track of her in the confusion, or if he left her behind in a calculated move to give them all time to escape. But in the end, it was effective. When the Merkits found Borte, they halted their pursuit and took her captive. Temujin, for his part, fled to the mountains, lying low and following the elk trails he had known since...
Wait, who was Borte to Temujin? Not his wife, right?
...his childhood. 4 days later, he emerged, and seeing that the coast was clear, was overcome with gratitude for having survived. He vowed to always honor the mountains as the place of his deliverance. Temujin saw his survival as a sign that he was special in the eyes of the spirits, truly destined for greatness. But Temujin was devastated at having lost his wife. He had—
Oh, it was his wife! What the fuck? Bro, why is he just leaving it behind? Nah, he purposely left her.
Options. He could return to his old camp and his pastoral life, but no matter how much he might build up and acquire for himself, there would always be the constant risk that some other enemy might come along and he would lose it all in another raid. He could head north toward the wooded, isolated lands of his childhood, but those desolate lands lacked pasture for animals. Living there would require his family to scrape by as he had in childhood, fishing and trapping and catching birds. It would be a safe life, but neither prosperous nor honorable. The third option was to follow the river south to seek the help of his patron, Unk Khan. Though Temujin had declined the offer to take a position under Unk Khan's authority a year ago, now that his newly built life was shattered, it seemed the only way to recover his bride. Unk Khan was enraged that the Merkits had acted against someone under his protection, and offered Temujin 20,000 warriors to retaliate.
Boom! 20,000? Wait, you had this much power and you're letting them take your wife? What are you doing, bro? You have the protection of someone that could just give you 20,000 men, and you just let them take your wife? Bro.
Against them. He also suggested that they enlist the help of his childhood friend and blood brother, Jamukha, who had become Khan of his own tribe by this time. Jamukha had experienced his own adversities, having been captured by the Merkits and forced into slavery just as Temujin had. But he too had escaped. He had built his own following and was now head of his own clan. He was eager for a chance to take revenge on the Merkits and to help his blood brother, providing another 2 cavalry divisions to Temujin's force. They sent messengers back and forth across the steppe, arranging where and when to meet.
How has this guy got so powerful?
Arrived at the appointed time and place, but Temujin and Unk Khan's forces took their time, meeting up along the way before proceeding to the rendezvous. When they finally arrived, Jamukha was livid. He had 6,000 men under his command, each with 2 or 3 spare horses. The army's 15,000-odd horses alone were grazing 5,000 acres of grass per day, to say nothing of the horses of the families already living in the valley. All of his soldiers were geared up for battle, sleeping in the rough, and eating—
Why? Also, right, why on earth do they have 2-3 horses spare? That makes no sense. So you have that many men, and you have every single man with 2 to 3 more horses than they need. That makes no sense.
Through their limited food supplies and increasingly anxious to get back to their families. And moreover, such an enormous force of men and horses were not exactly inconspicuous. Any wandering merchant might have seen what was going down and galloped off to warn the others. Jamukha scolded Ong Khan and Temujin, who were like, yeah, fair enough, our bad. The combined armies made their way north to the Merkit camp, but this was the beginning of a rift between Temujin and Jamukha that would only continue to grow. The Merkits lay in wait across a river. Each soldier built a float of reeds and swam across with a horse. The operation was too large to be a total surprise, but as soon as the Merkits realized what was happening, they panicked and scattered. Temujin frantically searched the camp for his wife, calling out her name. Now, Borte didn't realize that it was Temujin himself coming to rescue her. Any number of raiders or rivals might have been attacking, and she was not up for being captured again, so she was fleeing with the rest of the war prisoners. But when she heard Temujin's voice over the fray, she recognized it, and sprinted through the battle towards him. As she ran to his horse and snatched the reins from his hands, he almost attacked her, thinking she was an enemy. But as soon as he recognized her, he called off the attack, dismounted in the middle of battle, and embraced her. It was a resounding victory. The Merkits were scattered.
Bro, she must feel so good. She just had about 20,000 plus men. Just came to raid, to like save her, bro. Oh my god.
Both Temujin and Jamukha had their revenge, and Temujin was quickly establishing himself among the Mongols as a leader. But their joy was short-lived. It was discovered that Borte had been raped by her captors and come back pregnant. 9 months after she had been rescued, she gave birth to a son. Temujin claimed that the boy was his, but because his paternity was never clearly established, the child would never be fully accepted as Temujin's heir. With the Merkits dealt with, Temujin and Jamukha's families combined their camps and lived together. At least for a time, the two men were inseparable, riding, hunting, eating, even camping together. They swore their friendship for the third time, now as adults, in a public ceremony with their combined followers as witnesses. Standing before a tree at the edge of a cliff, they exchanged golden sashes, key symbols of a Mongol man's identity, as well as horses that they had looted from the Merkits. And because of his blood brotherhood with Jamukha, Temujin enjoyed an elevated status within the tribe. For a year and a half, things seemed ideal. But time has a way of changing things.
When does he start getting called Genghis Khan? Like, it's probably when he becomes the Khan. That makes sense.
Both Temujin and Jamukha were powerful men with aspirations to unite and lead the Mongol tribes. Jamukha supported traditional Mongolian aristocracy, where Temujin believed in a meritocratic method, and as such attracted a broader range and lower class of followers. Jamukha came from a higher lineage than Temujin, and over time began to treat him less as an equal and more as a younger brother or a subordinate. Temujin had killed the last brother figure in his life who had demanded subservience, so as you can imagine, this did not sit well, and they began to drift apart. One day, as the two men were riding together, Jamukha suggested that they split up their camps, that Temujin should take the goats and the sheep and camp by the river, while Jamukha took the horses and camped closer to the mountains. This was a power move. Horses were the wealth of the steppe. Horse breeders, such as those Jamukha had descended from, were a noble class. Horses played such an essential role in battle and steppe life that they were a status symbol. The message behind Jamukha's statement was clear. He was asserting his authority as a horse breeder, and treating Temujin as a lowly shepherd. Temujin was perplexed, and returned to his family, relaying the order and asking his mother what she made of it. Borte overheard this and interrupted. She was angry at this betrayal, and didn't trust Jamukha any longer. She insisted that they break from the group and set out on their own, along with any of Jamukha's followers who wanted to join them. They fled that very evening, riding through the night to gain as much distance as possible in case anyone decided to pursue. The following dawn, something strange happened. 3 brothers and their families, leading members of minor clans under Jamukha, caught up with them. Then more families from other clans caught up as well. In the end, many of Jamukha's followers chose to join Temujin. Now, they weren't the greatest of families. Jamukha still had the loyalty of the established leaders, but Temujin offered something that Jamukha could not: the prospect of advancement. At the age of 19, Temujin had taken his first great step on the road to leadership and power. The rift between Temujin and...
Wait, there's no way he's only 19 here. There's no way he's only 19. First of all, this picture is making him look like he's like fucking 60 years old, bro. But
Jamukha would grow into 2 decades of warfare, as each young man rose in stature as leading Mongol warriors, accrued followers, and built up their bases of power. They would grow from sworn brothers to the bitterest of rivals, splitting the Mongols into a vicious civil war full of raids and killings. Their rift was not just personal, but also ideological. As the rightful heir to his position as Khan and coming from a noble lineage, Jamukha was fighting to maintain tradition and aristocracy. Temujin was a radical who cared more about the quality of his followers' character than their heredity. His following was a motley band of mixed class and origin. He had fought his way up from nothing, going from a ragged child hunting rats in the woods to a respected military leader. His following lacked the legitimacy of Jamukha's noble background, but it was very appealing for those who wanted to find freedom and build a better life for themselves. The fight for the future of the steppe tribes had begun.
Oh, here we go. Hey, part 3 is going to be super good. I think part 3 is the last part as well. I'm really enjoying these videos from Extra History. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it too. Make sure you thumbs up the video. It really does help. If you guys are enjoying the content, I post daily. If you guys could subscribe, it'll really help out. And I'll see you guys in the next video.